Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're on the road heading out to the long range. I have a brand new rifle that I think you guys will be interested in seeing more about. It's a Norinco NDM-86, which is an SVD rifle made in China. That rifle has a really interesting history, which I'll share with you guys later on in the series. This trip out to the range is just a first trip out to get the rifle zeroed, kind of try some different ammunition in it, see what type of groups I can get out of it. And I'll give you more information about the SVD in general as we go on. But it's really cool. I finally got my hands on this rifle, and I want to thank my friend Hosh USMC for pointing me in the direction of this gun. It's been a long road trying to get an SVD. It's one of those rifles I've wanted for quite some time. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, I posted a video where David Fortier and I talked about the SVD. It was Marco Vorobiev's rifle. He writes for Shotgun News. And his also at the time was an NDM-86. And you guys really sent a lot of traffic to that video. You guys watched it. A lot of people watched it. So apparently it's a rifle that's of interest to you guys. It's certainly a rifle that's of interest to me. And I'm looking forward to learning more about it firsthand by spending a lot of time on the range with it. I also want to answer some questions about the gun, like how does it compare against the PSL, the Romanian AK variant that a lot of people actually confuse for the SVD. And we'll find out. We'll find out how the two shoot side by side, because I do have a PSL as well. So this should be a lot of fun. I have about an hour or so left on the road. Once I get out to the range, we'll get started, do some shooting, and have some fun.
The SVD is probably one of the most prolific sniper rifles in the world. When people see this rifle, they pretty much know what it is, especially if you're in the shooting community. When people think of sniper rifles, if you show them an SVD, they're going to go, oh yeah, that's a sniper rifle. The rifle is very well known the world over. Now, a lot of guys would argue that the rifle isn't technically a sniper rifle, and it's true that the Russians really did, and most Warsaw Pact nations did use it as a DMR, or a designated marksman's rifle. However, when they designed the rifle in the 1960s and it went into service in 1963, the Russians did name the rifle Sniper Rifle of Dragunov model 1963, the year that it was adopted. But how they wound up using the rifle was more or less in the designated marksman's role, which kind of fit in with the Soviet military doctrine of the time. So basically, by the end of the Cold War, pretty much every platoon in a Warsaw Pact nation would have at least one Dragunov or Dragunov gunner in that platoon. The Soviets didn't really use sniper teams like we think of sniper teams, where you have a highly trained sniper and a spotter that would go out. They would give this rifle to an individual, usually somebody that scored really high on their rifle scores, and they would become that designated marksman. Now keep in mind that the rifle is capable of delivering a lethal punch out to 1,000 yards. The Soviets really tried to keep the range of the rifle relegated or shortened to around 800 meters. So inside 600 to 800 meters, they estimated you would see about a 50% chance at 800 meters of scoring a hit in a combat environment, to about 80% chance of getting a hit at 500 yards in a combat environment. Then if you move that all the way into 200 yards, or 200 meters, I should say, then your hit probability for their soldiers, as they estimated, was well over 90%. So that's how they kind of used the rifles. They also wanted them to be used so they're semi-automatic, so they could be used very quickly. They can engage targets very quickly. Where we typically see snipers in the Western world, especially during the Cold War, using bolt-action rifles, they were using these semi-automatics. The rifle is capable of about 1 MOA with match ammunition that we have. Now, I didn't realize that Lucky Gunner actually has 7N1 match ammo, which was designed to be used with this rifle initially, which later they updated the ammunition and called it 7N14. But they do actually have some 7N1. I want to get my hands on it. It is mildly corrosive, so you do have to clean the gun well if you fire 7N1 in your rifle to make sure that it doesn't corrode. But overall, the rifle is very lightweight, very small. The barrel profile is very thin, but even despite its thin barrel and light weight, it's still capable of delivering at least MOA accuracy. A lot of folks will confuse this rifle for an AK. There's nothing on this rifle that is AK. It looks like an AK externally, but internally there's not one part that is compatible with any AK anywhere in the world. It uses a short stroke gas piston system like you would find on an FAL rifle, for example. It has an adjustable gas regulator, And the bolt itself, even though it does use a very AK-esque rotating bolt with a 3-lug system, it's still not compatible with any other AK on the market. As a matter of fact, the recoil spring and everything is contained within the top cover. It's not your typical AK spring system. But and the trigger is also very unique. It's I wouldn't say it's a match grade trigger, although it will surprise you typically when it goes off. It's a 2-stage trigger. But again, it doesn't feel anything like any AK I've ever shot. The stocks, of course, scream SVD. When you see these stocks, most people, associate these stocks with the SVD. This is where we first started seeing the thumb hole stock really appear in military rifles. Prominently was with the SVD, so it's kind of carried over. People always associate that stock with this particular rifle. Anyway, it has a very unique history, a very interesting military rifle, and I'm very proud to have this version, or this Chinese-made version, in my collection.
Solid hit. Side plate? Yeah.
When I buy a new long-range rifle, I like to try a bunch of different flavors of ammunition. In this case, it's 54R ammo, which your options are somewhat limited when you're looking for match ammunition, but there are options out there. Some of the ammo that I've tried so far is the PPU match, which has a 182 grain projectile. Over here, I've also tried what's commonly called LVE ammo. It's Wolf Extra Match ammunition, which uses a 200 grain projectile, and both of these have brass cases on them. The Red Army standard stuff I've picked up, it's all over the place. It is non-corrosive. Now, if you got some of the early stuff, when they first brought this brand into the country, it was highly corrosive. Make sure that you're getting the recent production stuff, which is not corrosive, and it has a 148 grain ball round in it. This is great ammunition just to get your rifle sighted in, to get you on paper or on target, and then move over to the match ammunition, and that's why I kept this stuff around. And then finally, I picked up some Hornady ammunition, which is really cool. It is loaded into steel cases, but it uses a 174 grain boat tail hollow point bullet. Now, out of all of these so far, I've found that the Hornady ammunition is giving me the best accuracy. When shopping around online, if you use ammoseek.com, you can find a fairly good variety of 54R ammunition in the match category. I found this stuff, the Wolf and the PPU, at luckygunner.com, and the rest of the stuff you just kind of have to shop around for. But again, the Hornady ammunition seems to be giving me the best results so far, but the jury's still out. I want to give this LVE ammo a little bit more closer look at it, I should say, because a lot of guys on the internet are saying this stuff shoots really well out of their PSLs and out of their Dragunovs. So I'm going to continue to shoot a little bit more of this, but I'll be honest with you, this is a second range trip out, and I've already ordered more ammunition, and I've ordered a half case of this stuff because it seems to be working so well for me. I'm going to burn off the rest of the PPU and the Wolf just to see how it does, but I can expect about 1 3/4 inch groups or so out of this so far, and it seems to have less consistency. The Hornady, if I'm having a bad group, it's 1.5 inches. It's got as tight as 5-shot 1-inch groups, which is quite impressive. Now, keep in mind, this SVD has a traditional scope on it, which means it's a 4-power scope. The Russians used a PSO-1 scope. This is a JJJ commercial scope that's being used on this Chinese rifle, but it's pretty much the exact same specs as the Russian PSO-1, including its 4-power magnification. It's somewhat limiting at range. You really can't see where you're shooting as well as you can with higher magnification. So if I had a 10-power scope or something even more than that, I think I could bring those groups down just a little bit because I can get a more precise aiming point. But regardless, the rifle is capable of MOA accuracy with match ammunition. Again, I'm seeing 1 MOA match accuracy or accuracy out of the Hornady so far, and I really do think, and this is pure speculation, if I get a different scope on here, which I'll probably try in the future, and get a little bit more magnification, I do think this rifle with factory match ammunition is capable of sub-MOA accuracy. So I'm really looking forward to trying that out, seeing if I can get those groups under 1 inch consistently. It should be fun. We're down at 100 yards taking a look at targets. And right here is a 5-shot group, which is fairly representative of what the Hornady match will do, the 174 grain Hornady steel case stuff. And that is easily 1.5 inches. Again, the rifle can consistently do that with the Hornady ammo. Although I have seen 1-inch groups out of the gun with that ammunition. I think this is more or less the shooter. I think this is just a limitation of me and the scope. But the rifle is definitely capable of 1/2 inch accuracy and occasionally pulling off the 1 MOA group. Over here is a 5-shot group with the PPU match, and this is pretty representative of what it can do. And it's right at 2 inches for a 5-shot group. So the rifle does really well with the Hornady match. That seems to be consistent now with the second range day out here shooting different types of ammunition through the gun. The Hornady is definitely the way to go so far. Let's take a look at field stripping the SVD really quickly. You can take the scope off. It's just like any other AK type mount where it has a rail on the side. You just flip a lever and the mount releases the scope and it comes off. It does maintain 0, at least in my experience so far. You don't have to take the scope off, but it definitely makes this a little bit easier. Here on the rear of the receiver, you have a takedown lever. A lot of people mistake this for a safety lever. You rotate this down and it'll swing all the way around. There's a little detent back here on the wood. You can lock it into that detent. Now the top cover, you just kind of push forward and lift it off. It is similar to an AK, but what you'll find inside is that the recoil spring is mounted to the top cover. So you can see the recoil spring there. Inside is your bolt and carrier. It slides back. Now this does look very much like an AK. Just draw it back like an AK. Rotate the bolt and take it apart. It comes into 2 pieces. Now this rifle's been fired quite a bit since I've had it, and you can see it stays really clean. Moving forward, this is where your gas system is, and this is where it really differentiates itself from the AK. You have a little lever here that you push forward on and rotate down. The retainer will move forward, and then your handguards just pop off the gun. Now you can see the short stroke gas piston system. This is its maximum travel right there. So that's what really sets it apart from just a standard AK. Putting it back together is super simple. You just reverse the process, put your handguards on. I guess it helps to put them on the right side. It's kind of set in place. Slide your retainer over. Take your lever up. Put your bolt and carrier back together. Again, it's just like an AK in terms of how it works. Set it in the rails. Push down until it engages. Slide it all the way forward. Take your top cover. Put it together like that. This rifle is very easy to maintain in the field. You can do this with gloves on. All the parts are nice and big, just like an AK. And there you go. The gun's back together. Put your scope back on. There's a little detent here. You line that up. Slide it forward onto its mount. It's kind of hard to do here. It's black on black. I can't see what I'm doing. There we go. Slide it all the way forward until it stops. Rotate the locking lever. And it's back together. The rifle's ready to shoot. Very simple to maintain. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed coming out for my second range trip with my new NDM-86. When I say new, I mean new to me. These rifles haven't been imported for quite some time. I'm really glad to have my hands on this gun because I read a lot of speculation about what the SVD is capable of and what it's not capable of. And honestly, I've never spent much time behind one. I've fired them in the past, but not more than a few rounds. So this is my first real experience with a rifle like this. So it's a learning experience for me as well. I hope you guys enjoyed coming along and learning more about this rifle with me. I plan on doing more videos with the gun. I didn't go into a whole lot of detail about the specifics of the rifle. I'll save that for a future video. I also want to compare this gun to the PSL and the Vepr in the same 7.62x54R caliber or chambering so you guys can get a better understanding of what those guns can do and cannot do in relationship to the SVD. If you guys have any questions, you can ask those questions on our Facebook page. I'll put a link to that down below. And if you want to support the Military Arms channel, the best way to do that is to shop at Copper Custom, which is our online store. We have a lot of products at some really great prices. Thanks again, everybody, for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.